Here's a quick video on how to change the inner tube on a bike. All you're going to need, besides a new bike tube that fits your size bike, is some wrenches to take off the bolts that hold on the nuts that hold on the wheel to the bike frame, some screwdrivers to help get off the tire, and then an air pump just to inflate and get that tire ready to go. So other than that, let's get started. And I'll make sure to link everything that I use in this video down in the description box below. To take off the wheel, we need to loosen these two nuts right here that are holding on this wheel. So what we'll need to do, probably need to put one on one side. I'm gonna try and wiggle my hand through just so my hand doesn't block the frame. And then we're just gonna loosen one side. Okay. Now I'll go over to the other side and loosen that one. Both of those loosened now, this wheel should just come straight up. And if it doesn't, I can show you how to get it out. Let's see, wiggle it a little bit. And there you go, nice and easy. Now it might get caught on the brakes, and if it does, let me show you how to get it off the brakes. Alright, so let's say that you can't get the wheel all the way through, and it's because the brakes are prohibiting the wheel from either coming out, or maybe if you're trying to put it back in. All you need to do is engage the brakes, if you will, and then just push up on the brake line so that it comes out of this holder right here. So I'm going to try to do it one-handed. Pull, pull, pull. Okay, like that, and there you go. So essentially what you're trying to do is have this lip of the brake line come out of this right there. So I don't think I'm going to be able to put it back together one-handed, but essentially what you're trying to do is pull it out from there, that lipped piece from here, so that the brakes are open. And now you should have plenty of clearance to get that wheel out. Alright, so we have our wheel assembly here off. So now to get that tire off, I like to start near the valve stem, just so in case you're saving the tube, you can not destroy it or ruin it. And you can buy special tools for taking off tires on bikes, but honestly, I like using flathead screwdrivers. Just, being slow and steady just so you don't puncture anything. And if you're worried, you can always put some electrical tape around the tip. But honestly, I've changed tires multiple times on bikes with screwdrivers and haven't had any issues puncturing anything or the tube. So anyway, all you have to do is kind of wedge it here in between the bead and pull up until the tire starts to come off the rim, and then slide it down. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll leave one screwdriver in, especially if the tire is on there pretty good. And so what I'll do with the other screwdriver, if I need it, is kind of come down and just use my other hand to pull up. Just keep sliding it around. And ultimately this one's coming off pretty easy, so I'm probably okay without the screwdriver. But maybe not. Put it back in, underneath, and pull up. And just keep sliding. Alright, almost there. Alright, so we got one side off, and if to get the other side now, same thing. You can just either flip the wheel upside down or flip the wheel to the other side, or honestly you can just give it a good little push, or use your screwdriver and pry all the way through. But other than that, it should come off now of the rim. So pull that off, take the tube out from within the tire, and now we have the tire off. Alright, so now let's inspect the tire tube before we replace it. Something that you can do is if you have a slow leak and you want to ensure that it is a slow leak and not just maybe something finicky going on, what you can do is pump up the tire tube, obviously outside of the wheel, pump it up, and then with a soap and water mixture, dish soap and water mixture, spray around the entire tire until you see air coming out. I would do it with this tire as this tube as an example, but as you can see, obviously this one is very clearly needing to be replaced. So that is just a way if you want to check where your tire tube might be leaking from, in case it is maybe the valve here or it is the actual rubber somewhere. You can test it by spraying soapy water all around the tube when it's filled with air. All right. And now the other thing that we want to do while we do have the tire tube out is look to see if we can find any markings on the tube that lets us know the size of the tube so we can replace it with the right size. And as you can see right here, hopefully this will maybe show up here. This is a 26 by 1.75 and that is the tire tube size. So now I can just take that in, get the same size, and we can finish this repair. One more important thing you do before you purchase off Amazon or go to the bike shop is check out the rim to make sure that the rim rubber lining here is intact, because if there's rips in this, then that will just rip that tube again. So you want to make sure that this thing is intact, that none of the screws from the spokes are pointing through. This is looking good. Looks like here maybe this is why the maybe where we could have had some potential problems. So we'll just adjust that liner. I'll adjust it off camera. You don't need to see me do that. So it looks like for the most part this liner is pretty much good. So I'll plan on just reusing this, but check yours. If you see any screws poking through, definitely replace it, or else it's only a matter of time before those puncture the actual tube itself. This liner here protects the tube. So just make sure to check that before you go to the store and need to replace this too and have to make a second trip. All right, one more tip that might be really helpful before you go to the store is also make sure to check out the actual tire. Usually tubes are the things that go bad, but sometimes nails or other things can actually puncture the actual tire and then affect the tube, and then that will cause the flat. So it's also good to check out the tire, and what you can do is if you open up the tire like this and face it toward the light, have light streaming through the opposite side, see if you can see any light coming through. See if that'll let you know if there's any holes in the rubber or any issues. I've already looked through mine, and maybe this, I don't know if you can see any of that, but obviously there's nothing really here to report other than just being gross and dirty on the inside. So that's another thing to do too. You just want to check all these sorts of things that could contribute to why you got a flat tube in the first place, rather than having to go back and forth to the store multiple times. So just also check that too. It takes a couple of minutes and it'll save you some headache and some frustration when you get your next flat. All right, so I've ordered my new tube, the 26 by 1.7, as you can see on the box here. I'll pull that up for you. And so now what I like to do to get this process going is take out our new tube. It looks like it has a... I personally like to do, to put this all back together, is I like to actually partially inflate the tube and put the partially inflated tube into the tire so that we can put it back on to the bike. So I'm gonna just put this on here. It's probably not gonna show up on screen, but you'll see. I'm just gonna pump it up just a little bit. And probably right there is plenty. And the reason that you do this is so that you can be able to have the tube sit inside of the axle without falling out. So I'm going to do that. Now what I like to do next is to put the tube inside of the tire. Run it all the way around. And this is where inflating it partially is helpful because it will slide in and stay in much more easily. So now we have this whole thing set up here. So now we can get that Schrader valve right there. And then we can get the wheel and look for the hole here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it on right there. And then we'll slide our Schrader valve through here, just like that. And then we'll just go around trying to get the tire inside of this. And sometimes that screwdriver trick that I showed you before for taking off the tire can be helpful in getting it back on. So like if the side of the tire was over here, let me see if I can show. I'll do it on the other side. So if I spin this out, you can see here it's not on all the way. So what I could do is flip it around 360 and then just put my screwdriver in, under, and push. And just keep doing that till the tire sits in. And just like that, looks like we are ready to blow this up more, cap it, and put the tire back onto the wheel back onto the bike. All right, with our new tube installed, we can now put the whole wheel back on. And again, if you need to, you can loosen the brakes for this to ensure they won't prohibit the wheel from getting through. And then I'm going to loosen the two nuts that hold the wheel on. All right. Keep playing around with this. I need to loosen the other side a bit. Let me do that. All right, now we'll try that. Oops, too far. There we go. Now that it's set in, we can just tighten these two nuts.
Just kind of start it here. Okay, there's one side. I guess I'll just do this, make it easier for myself. I'm using this one so I can get that washer in the right place. Yeah.
Mine has a little kind of washer here. Yours may or may not, so just notice if it does to make sure that it's seated all the way down. Now mine is. So now we can tighten this. And now I'll get the other wrench on there. And we can just get these good and tight. All right, and that's how simple it is. That is how you replace a tire tube on the front of your bike. If you have any questions, put them in the comments section below. If this video was helpful, please give it a like. Subscribe to the channel, helps me to help other people, as well as know that this information is helpful to you guys. All the tools and items used will be linked in the description box below, and I'll link some videos that might be helpful for you in the card above. Check out my other videos if you're interested in other repairs and maintenance stuff, either around the home on bikes or even on your vehicle. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.